Hey, Jim Kennedy here with Kennedy Mortgage. I'm out of Texas, Austin, Texas specifically. Got some information for you, a little presentation about bank statement loans, how they're useful, who they're for, some of the other parameters. Hopefully this will be helpful. Bank statement loans are great for self-employed borrowers, either for your primary residence or your investment property. So you can use 12 or 24 months instead of W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns, your traditional source of income documentation. So hopefully this will be helpful. Let's get into it and see what we can learn. So as I said earlier, bank statement loans are great for either your primary residence or investment property, but you have to be self-employed. The great thing about it, like I said, is no W-2s, no pay stubs, no tax returns. You use your bank statements, either 12 or 24 months. They go off your deposits. You can use personal bank statements or business bank statements. Like I said, this program is great for self-employed borrowers, business owners, independent contractors, that sort of thing. You don't need to own 100% of the business. You only need to own 25%. And like I said, it works for owner-occupied properties, second homes, investment properties, no mortgage insurance required, and no income, like I said, no income requirement other than the bank statements, and no personal income verification from the IRS. So these are great for an alternative form of income documentation if your W-2s and pay stubs, or more specifically your tax returns, don't show income because of all your write-offs and whatnot. Yep. And as I said, great for self-employed borrowers, small business owners, sole proprietors, LLCs, S corps, independent contractors. If you get a 1099, real estate investors. If you're turned down by a regular conventional loan where you showed tax returns and the income doesn't qualify from all your write-offs, so not a fit. If you're W-2'd, if you're not self-employed, that's not going to work. There was a time, but not today. You need to have at least a 640 credit score. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. I mean, 640, sometimes 620, 640, but if you want to try to get anywhere near 90% loan to value, 10% down, that sort of thing, you got to have at least a 640 score. So, and if you own less than 25% of the business, that's not going to work either. You got to have at least 25% of the business that you own actually to make this work and to make it qualify. So qualifying 640 credit score will get you more than likely 90% loan to value on a purchase, a rate and term refinance 85%, cash out 80%. Reserve requirements, generally they want a few more reserves going this route. The bank statement loan program, 6 to 12 months, depending upon the credit score and loan to value and the property type. So you can have unlimited finance properties. So if you're a property investor, you can have unlimited properties, whereas if it was a conventional type loan, generally, with any lender, it's 10 properties max. So these are great loans, like I said, for property investors too. So loan amounts, minimum is generally $100,000. I've seen these things go up to $3.5 million on a bank statement loan. The terms, you can do 15-year, 20, 30, 40. Not very often do I see interest only, but generally you have to have at least a 30 or 40 or 15-year term, even a 20-year if that fits you. Gift funds are allowed, unlimited properties. You can close in an LLC. Seller concessions up to 6% on a purchase. In terms of deposits, your qualifying income, you can go 12 or 24 months. The underwriter averages to 24 months or 12 months over that span of time to get your average deposit to use as a monthly income. Personal accounts, you can use 100% deposits. Business accounts, 90% deposits. There's an expense factor. So there's a default expense factor generally for the business expenses. They take into consideration what your expenses are for the business itself. Generally, the default is 50%. But if you get a CPA letter or a letter from a bookkeeper that does your taxes and it shows otherwise, they can go as high as as low as 10%. So you need to use 90% of your deposits. So lower factor equals higher income. Like I said, if you get a CPA, a tax preparer, or a bookkeeper to document your taxes and show a different expense factor than 50, then that would work too. If restaurant, there's other expense factors. If you own a restaurant, then it's obviously going to be a little higher, 70% expense factor. So if you had $10,000 a month, they take in consideration that 70%, then they'd only use 3% or 3,000. Yeah, so a little bit more on the expense factor. The lender will deduct a percentage of your deposits to account for your business expenses. This is applied to the gross bank deposits. Lower factor equals higher income. It's in terms of qualifying. And like I said, a CPA or a bookkeeper that does your taxes can change that and lower that expense factor for you. 50% is standard. 30 to 40% supported with a CPA or bookkeeper. 10% is about the minimum, depending upon the kind of business that you own. And 70, you can go as high as 70% if you own restaurants, so keep that in mind. Types of properties: owner-occupied, investment properties, second homes, primary residence, owner-occupied, second homes, your vacation secondary homes, investment properties 1 to 4 units, condos, townhomes, warrantable, non-warrantable condos. Some of the key highlights again: no W-2s needed, up to 90% loan to value on a purchase. Gift funds are allowed for the down payment. You can close an LLC if you're a property investor, which is great. A lot of conventional loans, you can't do that. You'd have to do it after the fact with the title company. So why self-employed borrowers choose bank statement loans? No tax returns needed. You don't need to provide your tax returns. So no W-2s, no pay stubs, no personal DTI. Qualifying the bank statements only, up to 90% of the purchase, 12 or 24 months bank statements. So if your deposits look better in the last 12 months, then we use those, obviously. And if they look better over average of 24 months, then we can go that route too. So conventional loans, you need 2 years tax returns or 2 years W-2s, 30 days of pay stubs. Self-employed borrowers generally, it gets tough when you have a lot of write-offs. So it's just, these bank statement loans are a great product to have. They work great for self-employed borrowers. Yeah, so how fast can you close? I mean, you can close these bank statement loans in 30 days or less, 3 weeks on, if everything gets in on time. The appraisal, you can order that right away. That usually takes a couple weeks. Bank statement review a couple days, underwriting review a couple days, title work within a week. So a lot of this stuff, it moves pretty fast. You just need your 12 or 24 months bank statements. You need to get your credit pulled, obviously, appraisal, title work, CPA letter if needed to try to get that expense factor down, if that's going to be a factor. Entity docs if you're going to close an LLC. Yeah, so to recap, once again, on these bank statement loans, no personal income needed. And 640 minimum credit score to get to 90% loan to value, or 10% down rather. Loan amounts up to $3.5 million, minimum 100,000. 12 or 24 months bank statements, whichever works out best in terms of your monthly averaging on your deposits. Owner occupied, second homes, investment properties, property types, single family, 1 to 4 units, condos, non-warrantable condos, townhomes. Manufactured homes also, if that's something that you might have. You can close an LLC. So these are some of the things that are great with these bank statement loans. So it's just another great tool for somebody that if they're self-employed and you don't show the income on your tax returns, but you do in your bank statements, these are great. So it gets you qualified, it gets you into your home. So once again, Jim Kennedy Mortgage here in Austin, Texas. 512-553-2111, or email me, reach out if I can answer any questions for you. I'd be more than happy to help. I can run some scenarios to see. I can run some bank statement numbers and whatnot to see if you qualify. So that's what I have for you.